Lloyd is a lonely orphan who gets adopted by an S-ranked mage after he loses everything in a demon attack. However, after she trains him to become the strongest, he becomes an overpowered hero and claps everyone. It all starts as a young Lloyd looks over his town, which has been completely destroyed after a big battle. Just then, an S-ranked mage named Merlin finds him and immediately hugs him because she believes the poor boy lost his home because of her mistake. She takes him back to her house, where she teaches him how to cast a basic fire spell, and Lloyd manages to learn it in just a few hours. However, she demonstrates that his spell is too weak, and he must practice even harder. However, a few days later, Lloyd picks up a book in Merlin's room, and his body suddenly starts to glow right before he collapses. Seeing this, Merlin realizes that Lloyd has the potential to grow stronger than her, so she tells herself she won't let him be overconfident in his powers, so he doesn't make the same mistake she did. Later, when he's sleeping, she kisses him and leaves a mark on his forehead. The next day, Merlin teaches him about white mages and their support magic, which helps Lloyd grow a fruit on a dead tree. Despite his steady growth, she tells him it's not enough and proceeds to bring the entire tree back to life, much to his surprise. She takes him to the forest for his final test, and gives him a dagger before leaving him there to survive on his own. Lloyd immediately gets attacked by a large wolf and hides in a tree so he can look for a way back home. For the next few days, Lloyd continues to adapt to his new environment in the daytime and tries to strengthen his enhancement spells during the night. Then one day, he gets jumped by a large spider, so he uses his speed-enhancing spell to run away from it. Eventually, he reaches home and collapses at the front door, where Merlin welcomes him with a smile, which shows that even though she is tough with him, she still cares for him a lot. For the next few years, Merlin bosses him around by creating new spells and potions and using him as a test subject. Then one day, Lloyd spots a booklet about the beautiful city of Ishtar on Merlin's desk and decides to visit it without telling her. Once he gets there, he is shocked to see so many people around because all he's seen is Merlin for as long as he can remember. There, he learns that the hero's party is recruiting adventurers and decides to help them hunt down a troll. During the fight, Lloyd casts a giant enhancement circle on all of them, which suddenly makes them all stronger without even realizing it. This allows them to easily defeat the troll, but Alan takes all the credit for it. As they return to the city, they become famous for defeating such a strong monster and are paid in gold. Afterward, Alan gives Lloyd a few gold coins for participating in the hunt. But after Lloyd leaves, Alan calls him a useless mage. That night, Merlin gets a visit from a guy named Will, who informs her that Lloyd is an Ishtar and has been recruited by the hero's party. She tells him it's fine because Lloyd needed to experience real combat. Will then asks her if she regrets what happened with the Demon Lord, and Merlin tells him she won't make the same mistake twice. Back then, they were fighting the Demon Lord and victory was in grasp, but they got overconfident and allowed the demon to blow itself up, which led to a lot of death and destruction. However, their friend Cybele used the forbidden ancient magic to revive everyone, but it cost him his life. That's when Merlin found Lloyd, and she promised herself that she wouldn't let him be confident in his powers so he wouldn't make the mistake she made. At present, the next day, Lloyd and his new party hunt down another legendary monster, and everyone sings their praises in the city. Later, one of the party members, Rena, tells Alan that they have suddenly become stronger without any training, which she finds odd. However, Alan is too high to care about it, which puts her at unease. Soon after, the border guards of Ishtar are attacked by some golems, and Alan's party is tasked with eliminating the threat. They seek Lloyd's help in locating the golems, and he takes them to a cave hidden behind a waterfall. Once inside, they keep getting swarmed by seemingly infinite golems until Lloyd spots that a demon mage is summoning them on repeat. He then uses his physical enhancement spell to make his team stronger and coordinates them to take the mage down. Seeing him give orders makes Alan jealous, so he decides to take matters into his own hands. However, he almost gets eaten by the golem, but Lloyd luckily saves him last second, which allows him to defeat the monster. However, once they return, Lloyd decides to kick him out of the party by telling him that he is useless, when in reality, Lloyd was the one carrying them all this time. Since Merlin always told Lloyd that he was weak, Lloyd doesn't realize his own power and leaves without saying anything. As he starts looking for a new party at the guild, no one wants to accept him because he got kicked out of the hero's party. Just then, he hears a girl named Yui screaming at the receptionist that she is in dire need of a white mage, and the receptionist points her to Lloyd. Without wasting a second, Yui grabs Lloyd's hand and bolts out of there. Before this, Yui and her party were tasked with raiding a camp of bandits and arresting their fatso leader. As they all went in, they worked in perfect synergy and defeated everyone easily. In the end, they reached the boss, who was shocked at how strong they were, only to learn that they were an S-rank party. As a last resort, the boss used magic to summon a stone golem, and since it was resistant to bows and magic, Yui decided to take it on herself. However, the stone golem proved too tough even for her, so she asked her white mage comb to enhance her. Clum's mind was occupied by something else, so it took her a few seconds to respond to Yui's call. Once the spell was cast, Yui took down the golem with ease and restrained all the bandits. Afterwards, Clum apologized for losing focus, explaining that she was worried about her younger sister, who is in a predicament. Since she couldn't stay at the party for now, Yui ran to the Adventurers Guild and started begging the receptionist to find her a white mage. Once she learned about Lloyd, she immediately ran to him to ask if he was free. Lloyd told him he's the unemployed friend on Tuesday, so she grabbed his hand and dragged him across town until they reached her party house. At present, she then introduces Lloyd to her teammates, Dagus the steroid junkie, Cross the budget Robin Hood, and Silica, who can pull a rabbit out of a hat. She then welcomes Lloyd to their party, only for him to say that he never agreed to join them. That's when his party members realize that she must have dragged the guy all across town without even talking to him first. Cross then suggests they turn down their quest because they can't do it without a white mage, and they all agree that no one could replace Clum. Hearing this, Yui starts tweaking because she is worried about their client, who needs help. Lloyd suggests giving the quest to another party, only to learn that it is an A-rank quest, and all the other A-rank parties have already taken different jobs. He then learns that Yui's party is an S-ranked, and this tanks his confidence further because his previous party leader told him he is a useless, disgusting loser. However, Yui suggests they test Lloyd's strength first to see if he is fit for the job before giving up. They take him outside and ask him to show what he's packing. And Lloyd starts to get nervous because all his life he's been told that he isn't doing enough. Dagus notices that he's shaking and tells Yui not to put Lloyd on the spot, so she eases it up by telling him to cast enhancement magic on them. Cross and Silica told Yui that only the strongest white mages can cast it on multiple people, but she still insisted that Lloyd try it. Lloyd is confused because he believes this is a joke, but after the party insists, he decides to show them. He then casually summons a staff like Merlin taught him to, and all of them are shocked because they've never seen it before. Lloyd then casts all the enhancements on them at once, which surprises them even further. Yui then asks if he pulled that staff from his cakes, but Lloyd tells him he was using a basic storage spell that his master taught him. He then asks if he passed the test, but the party members are confused because they didn't realize he had already cast the enhancement spell. Yui then tries to use her sword on a thick tree, and they all watch in shock as it goes like a hot knife through butter. As they collect their jaws from the floor, Lloyd tells them he cast 5 enhancement spells at once, but they can't believe their ears. Lloyd tells them that casting one was too simple for him, and he thought they would expect a lot more from him since they are an S-rank party. As they listen in silence, Lloyd thinks he disappointed them and apologizes for wasting their time. When he decides to take his leave, they stop him and try to figure out why he lacks confidence. That's when they learn that Lloyd was part of the hero's party and got the boot for being weak. Silica tells him she has never seen any white mage stronger than him, but Lloyd still doesn't believe her and says they are better off finding someone else. Yui then tells him that their previous white mage, Clum, has a sick sister named Sylvie who needs a lot of care, which is why she can't join them anymore. They further tell him that taking A-rank jobs without Clum is very dangerous even for them, and they hope Sylvie recovers soon. Lloyd realizes they really care about Clum even when she's not part of the group anymore, so he asks them about Sylvie's condition. Yui tells him her body has started turning into a magistone, and Lloyd recalls Merlin telling him it happens due to crystallization of mana. He then asks Yui to take him to Clum's place, where he asks Clum directly about her sister's condition. Clum tells her that she and Sylvie used to go on a quest together until one day she was injured by a monster and suddenly collapsed. She then takes them to Sylvie's room, and Lloyd immediately senses a foul mana surrounding the room. Clum also shows them that Sylvie's body has started to crystallize, and it is only a matter of time before she completely loses her mind. Lloyd then steps up and reveals that he might be able to cure her, but Clum finds it hard to believe because not even the most advanced healers could heal Sylvie. Despite that, she lets him have a go, and Lloyd casts a spell to absorb the corrupt mana inside Sylvie. He then casts 2 different spells to purify the mana, and Clum is shocked because she has never seen someone cast 2 spells so casually. Soon after, Sylvie's body turns back to normal, and she regains consciousness, leading to a heartfelt reunion between the 2 sisters. Later that day, Clum informs Yui that she will form a party with Sylvie since she is fully recovered now. She also tells Lloyd that she's leaving the party in his hands, but Lloyd still thinks he is not worthy of the role. That night, while the group celebrates Sylvie's recovery, they thank Lloyd for making it happen, making him realize how different they are from his previous party. He then shyly asks them if they will let him join their party, and they are all shocked that he is still asking. They immediately accept him into the group, and they all celebrate his addition together. As they begin the feast, Lloyd comments on how the food here is really amazing, but the others are confused because the food is average. This makes Lloyd wonder if he has been living in London until now, and he explains that all he had grown up was whatever grew in his master's garden. Hearing about his master, they ask him to share more about her, and Lloyd tells them she's a bit on the crazy side, as he would often hear explosions from her lab. Silica gets excited and wishes to learn from her too, but Lloyd quickly tells her not to do it because he remembers all the years of beatings he took to get here. Cross asks him if his teacher is harsh, but Lloyd tells him she can be very kind at times, recalling the moment she hugged him when he healed her. Unbeknownst to him, Merlin is having her Thor after the Infinity War arc yet again and wonders how Lloyd is doing in Ishtar. Back in the city, the squad decides to fill Lloyd in on everything about their next job so he doesn't feel lost at the strategy meeting. Since Yui sucks at explaining things, Dagus decides to speak instead and explains their job, which is to defeat a pack of monsters tearing up farms. Turns out different species of monsters have strangely teamed up to trample the crops, which Lloyd finds weird. Cross mentions that he and Yui don't do well against packs, which means Silica must be the center of their attack for this mission. Silica agrees to her position, but she is worried she might not have enough mana if the pack is larger than they anticipate. Rui then asks Lloyd if he can cast offensive magic, and he tells her not to get her hopes high because he is very weak at it. With no other choice, Dagus suggests they start by he and Yui luring the monsters to one spot, while Silica takes them out with a big attack. Cross asks what his role is in all this, and Dagus tells him to cover their 6. As for Lloyd, he is a white mage, so his job is to provide support and healing. When Lloyd tells everyone not to expect much from him, everyone seems bummed, and Yui tells him he can use some confidence. She and Cross then help cheer him up, and it puts a smile on his dumb face. With that, they head outside and the group starts teasing Yui for being a tsundere loli, which makes Lloyd realize their bond is strong. As they head towards the inn, Lloyd goes in the other direction, but Dagus notices this and asks him why he's not coming with them. Lloyd tells him he doesn't have the money to afford an inn, so Dagus lends him some from his own pocket. Lloyd says he can't accept it, but Dagus tells him this is not charity, but rather an advance on the money he's about to make on their mission tomorrow. This cheers Lloyd on, and he promises to pay this money back as soon as possible. With that, he gets room for himself, realizing that his party members are kind and he must not let them down. The next day, they all gather outside the tavern, and Yui notices that no one is carrying any bags. That's when Cross tells her Lloyd is carrying them in his storage spell, which gets her all excited because she doesn't have a boyfriend who'd carry her bags. Lloyd also says he can teach them this spell because everyone is born with a little mana, which gets them all hyped. Afterward, they set out on their journey and pass by the mountain beyond which lies the nation of demons. As they continue, they come across a wooden bridge that scares Yui, so she keeps babbling brain-rot nonsense to distract herself from wetting herself. The others soon join her in her yapping, but since Lloyd hasn't used Instagram since he was born, he has no idea what they are talking about. They try to teach him how to crack a joke as he crosses the bridge, but they soon realize bro can't crack one to save his life. Soon after, they pick a spot to camp for the day, and Lloyd brings out their packed bags so they can set up tents and a fireplace. While doing that, Yui suddenly feels the urge to do what girls do with Silica. So Lloyd has to take their place and gather firewood. That's when he spots a fruit in the forest, which is the same one Merlin had back home, just as he eats one up. He hears the girls screaming and sees that a dragon has shown up to watch them bathe in the river. With both of them backed into a corner, Lloyd slides down and distracts the dragon, which allows the girls to leave the river and cover themselves with towels. He then summons Yui and Silica's weapons and tosses them over so they can fight the dragon. As the others take cover, Silica manages to blow up the dragon with a single fire attack, which shocks her too because she didn't think she was this strong. With the dragon defeated, Yui gives her sword to Lloyd so he can store it again, but her plot cover comes undone in the process. As they return to the camp, Yui is clearly annoyed as Lloyd shows them how to cast the storage spell. However, despite hours of practice, none of them is able to cast it, which makes him think he's a bad teacher. However, Silica gets the genius idea to use incantations, and by the evening, they somewhat get the hang of it. At night, Lloyd and Yui are keeping watch, and she notices that there are no monsters nearby. She then sits quietly next to Lloyd and sincerely thanks him for joining their party, which is out of character for her. Lloyd then asks her why she's so fixated on this quest, and she says it reminds her of her hometown. When she was young, her village was raided by a pack of monsters, and she was the sole survivor, so she wants to protect other villages from suffering the same fate. As she continues her story, Lloyd has to stop her abruptly because he senses some monsters heading in their direction. They quickly wake everyone up, and the squad hides in the woods to avoid the giant spiders passing through the forest. However, Yui steps on a branch and gives away their location, which causes the spiders to rush them down. Soon after, the squad is surrounded from all four sides, but Lloyd uses various enhancement spells on Yui, which allows her to chop down the legs of all the spiders. After they are immobile, he asks Silica to combine her fire magic with Cross's arrows, which allows them to yeet the monsters. Once the coast is clear, Lloyd apologizes for giving orders because he remembers what happened last time he did so. But unlike before, the squad praises him for his quick thinking and encourages him to take the leading role in battle. The next day, it is time for them to leave the area, and everyone is happy because they can cast their own storage spell thanks to Lloyd's teachings. The following night, Lloyd is keeping watch at the camp, but his mind is preoccupied because he can't figure out where those spiders were heading to in such a large pack. Just then, Rui and Silica appear and anxiously tell him that he will fall ill if he stays up all night and keeps watch. He assures them he is fine, and they should be getting maximum rest because they have the harder job, while he just stands in the back being useless. Rui argues that he is an essential part of the team, but Silica stops her midway and tells her to let Lloyd be. The boys also watch this scene unfold from their tent and choose not to interfere. The following day, after a long walk into the forest, the group takes a water break while Lloyd uses a spell to make sure the area is clear of all monsters. Yui is surprised when she learns he can cast search magic, and Lloyd says he's been casting it regularly to make sure they are not ambushed. Yui starts blushing because Lloyd doesn't even realize how incredible he is, so she asks him if she can help. Lloyd tells her he's got it all covered, causing her to walk away in despair. That night, Lloyd keeps watch as usual while Yui discusses with Silica that Lloyd might not trust them. However, Silica assures her that Lloyd is their friend, and everyone opens up at their own speed. She also believes that there must be a reason why Lloyd isn't aware of his own skills, and they must be patient with him. Yui starts wondering what kind of life Lloyd lived before he joined their party, and Silica believes he will tell them on his own one day. Meanwhile, Daggers joins Lloyd at the fireplace and tells him that he needs his help with something. Lloyd asks him who will keep watch, and Cross steps up in his place. Daggers then takes him to the forest, where he sets up clappers around the perimeter, explaining that they will make noise if any monster approaches. He then tells Lloyd that he doesn't need to keep a watch anymore, but when Lloyd insists on staying up, Daggers asks him if he doesn't trust them. Lloyd immediately backs off and anxiously claims that he does, so Daggers asks him why he's doing all the scouting and watching alone. In that moment, Lloyd recalls Merlin and Alan telling him that he's not good enough, and he now believes he must work extra hard to prove his worth. Daggers tells him he is already a member of their party and doesn't need to prove anything, advising him to rely more on his friends. Lloyd admits he never thought of that and asks Daggers if it's really okay for him to rely on them, and Daggers assures him that he can. That night, Cross stays up to keep watch, while Lloyd sleeps inside the tents beside Daggers. The next day, Lloyd asks Yui for her help in drawing water, and she becomes happy because this is the first time he's asked her anything. Meanwhile, a demon reports to his master, Michelle, that all the high-ranked parties have been lured by the monsters they spread across the villages. The only remaining threat in Ishtar is the hero's party, so Michelle asks his informant to proceed with their plan. Meanwhile, Lloyd's party is on the move again, and they come across a part of the forest where they sense a huge amount of dark arua. Lloyd immediately casts his search spell and learns that there is a pack of monsters about 10 kilometers ahead of their current location. Cross realizes that the area is very close to the farm they are supposed to protect, but before they can discuss further, Yui steps in to ask how he can search everything in such a large range. Lloyd tells them 10 kilometers is not that large, but Silica tells him that it is 10 times the average person's range. Afterward, they rush to the farm to see hundreds of wolves roaming around, and Rui admits she has never seen a pack so large before. Lloyd finds it ever stranger how there are 0 monsters in the entire forest, and the party agrees because the forest is usually filled with all kinds of monsters. While they're discussing their plans, Cross uses his keen eye to spot a weird crystal inside the farm, and Lloyd uses enhancement magic to improve his vision so he can see it too. He then casts the same spell on everyone, and everyone can see a stone oozing a dark aura. Lloyd believes the mana is of a beast folk. and he learned from Merlin that some beast folk have the power to command monsters. Just then, he casts another search spell and notes that nearly 1,000 monsters of all kinds are heading their way, and they are most likely being lured by the dark crystal. Yui wonders why anyone would do that, and Lloyd realizes this is an elaborate plan to get rid of them. When Cross suggests backing off, Yui argues that they should protect the fields, but even she knows they can't face 1,000 monsters alone, with no other option. Lloyd suggests they engage the monsters and asks Cross if he can hit the crystal. Cross says he can't break it from this far, so Lloyd asks him to just hit the target and not worry about damage. When Cross takes aim, Lloyd uses enhancement magic to power him up, and Cross shatters it in a single blow. Lloyd then explains he cast an enhancement spell on him, his bow, and his arrow, and Cross is shocked to learn he can enhance people and weapons at the same time. Lloyd, as usual, has no idea how amazing he is and gives all the credit to Cross, saying he is the one who took the shot. Just then, Yui spots that the wolves at the farm have started acting normally, and Lloyd says it's because the crystal has been shattered. He also hoped it would stop the horde, but it hasn't, so now they must face their biggest challenge yet. As the monsters draw near, Lloyd asks his squad to wait for his signal, and they all put their lives in his hands. When the monsters are extremely close, Lloyd gives Silica the signal, and she casts a firestorm spell. The spell is so huge that it shocks everyone, including Silica, and Lloyd casually explains that he enhanced it. He then turns to Cross, who praises Lloyd's thinking because not only is the flame burning the monsters, but the smoke is making it hard to fly for them as well. Lloyd then casts a search spell to locate the monsters in the air and uses telepathy to reveal them to Cross, allowing him to shoot in the dark and take the monsters out in the air. Lloyd then returns to Silica, who has run out of mana, so he uses mana transfer to juice her up. This allows Silica to cast a rain spell, which stops the fire, and as she collapses from exhaustion, Dagus cushions her fall and praises her for saving them. Yui turns to Lloyd to praise his quick thinking, but once again, Lloyd claims he did the bare minimum. However, doing so much wears him out too, so Yui and Dagus decide to take care of the rest. After they are done, Lloyd reveals that this quest was most likely a bait to lure the adventurers out, which means someone is planning to attack the city. Despite their doubts, the group trusts Lloyd's hunch, and Yui suggests they head back immediately. Lloyd then uses a potion to replenish his mana and casts a speed enhancement spell on everyone, allowing them to run at super speed. Meanwhile, Michelle gets a visit from General Grist, who informs him that their vanguard is already descending on the city of Ishtar. They discuss how their plan worked perfectly thanks to a girl, and Grist claims he will make her serve them in the future as well. Turns out they have locked up a girl named Claire, and they are using her powers to create those dark crystals. Meanwhile, Lloyd's party decides to take a short break after running for hours, and Lloyd gives them potions to replenish their stamina. They believe they will reach Ishtar in no time, but Silica is worried for Lloyd, who's been using enhancement magic for hours. Lloyd assures her he's fine because he's learned to use his mana efficiently, going back to the time when Merlin left him in the woods and forced him to survive on his own. Lloyd wasn't strong enough to beat the monsters, so he had to cast enhancement spells to survive. Lloyd believes this is a common form of training among the white mages, only for Yui and Silica to mention that it is not. However, this makes him think that Merlin went easier on him, whereas others go through an even tougher training regime, making the girls realize that he's a complete moron. With that, they hit the road again, crossing through hills and thick forests like it's no big deal. Then suddenly, Lloyd stops without warning, which causes all of them to bump into each other. He explains that he sensed some magic signatures nearby, but he can't yet tell if it's monsters or something else. He asks his teammates to go ahead without him while he stays back and checks, but Yui insists on coming along. The rest also tell her that they are a party and they will face everything together, so Lloyd agrees to let them help. Soon enough, they reach a shady-looking hut where some mages are trying to summon the spirit of Skibidi Toilet.
Hey yo, what the?
Lloyd senses that these said mages are demons of the Magocracy, which is the nation of demons. When he acts confused as to why demons are here, Yui tells him it's common for them to do shenanigans in the human nations. However, Lloyd isn't aware of this because he has lost all his memories from before he was adopted by Merlin, which essentially makes him a war orphan. Nonetheless, they all agree that the situation seems bad, and Lloyd wants to investigate more before they report back to the city. He reveals he is sensing the same mana here, which he sensed from the dark crystal at the farm, which leads others to believe the two things are connected. Once again, the group decides to follow Lloyd's hunch, and Yui steps up to tell everyone that they should do as Lloyd says because these demons might be after Ishtar. While everyone looks at her in shock, Cross explains that this is the first time she's acted like a proper leader, which annoys her. With that, they sneak closer to the house, but are unable to spot anyone inside, which they find rather strange. Lloyd uses his search spell once again and realizes that the enemy is hiding underground. Dagus suggests looking for an entrance, but Lloyd reminds him that Silica is an earthbender, so she can easily make an entrance for them. Silica then uses her magic to drop them into the basement, and Yui immediately holds a knife to the mage's throat, asking him what he's cooking here. When the other mages try to retaliate, Cross and Silica work together to take them out, but this allows one of the mages to get away. That mage visits Claire's cell and seals her in a cocoon-like thing in an attempt to escape with her. Luckily, Yui barges open the door, and the squad chases the man outside. They manage to surround the mage from all four sides, and when Lloyd tries to question him, he chooses to fight them instead. However, Lloyd protects everyone with his magic, and the mage ends up knocking himself out by accident. Afterward, the squad tears open the cocoon to find Claire inside, and Lloyd reveals she's a beast folk. They take her back to the hut to nurse her, and Silica notes that she must be from the For's Empire. Lloyd then uses heal on her, and they notice how his spell is different than before. Lloyd casually says he made some tweaks to it, only to realize that normal mages can't tweak their magic at all. This shocks him because Merlin would use him as a lab rat for her improved spells, which is why he thought it was normal. Just then, Claire wakes up, and Yui immediately starts bombarding her with questions. Rui then asks for her name, and she lies that it is Kuraha. Lloyd then tells her they are adventurers who were tasked to protect a farm, but they found a crystal there that had beast folk mana in it. Claire confirms that it was her mana in the crystal, which shocks the group. Meanwhile, two guards at the Ishtar border spot a similar dark crystal, and when they try to investigate it, they get jumped by dozens of monsters. Back in the hut, Lloyd admits that having such power can be devastating if used carelessly, but he also knows that the demons forced Claire to do it. This confirms Lloyd's hunch that the quests were a mere distraction to lure adventurers away from the city, and if Ishtar falls, the demons can easily take control of the whole continent. With no time to waste, Lloyd suggests they rush back to Ishtar, and Claire decides to join them. Soon after, they take a short break to replenish their mana, and that's when Lloyd senses several monsters in the woods ahead. He also senses a large army behind these monsters, so he asks Claire if she can lend him her powers. He also asks the others to go ahead and warn the city, and they agree to follow Lloyd's plan. After enhancing them with speed, Lloyd takes Claire into the woods so he can stop the horde of monsters. Back in the city, Alan is freaking out because all the new applicants are useless for his party. He still thinks Lloyd was a good-for-nothing loser, but he will not accept any white mage who cannot use a storage spell. The girls tell him that none of the applicants can use that spell, and most of them can only cast one enhancement spell at a time. Rena asks him to consider the possibility that Lloyd was exceptional, but Alan refuses to take her seriously. Just then, a knight enters the room to inform him that a horde of monsters is attacking the city. Alan confidently accepts the quest to defend the city, and after the knight leaves, he tells his party members that this is the best time for him to submit himself as the Aura Farmer of Ishtar. Meanwhile, Lloyd and Claire finally locate the large horde of monsters heading towards the city. Lloyd admits that the city does not stand a chance if this horde and the army attack together, so they must take it out before that happens. Claire asks him if it is possible for them to defeat the monsters without hurting them, because she understands that these animals are only being manipulated to harm human society. This makes Lloyd realize that she really cares about the lives of others, so he decides to look for a way to control the animals without fighting them. He then asks her if she can send the monsters back to their homes with her magic, but Claire admits that their number is too large for her to control. Lloyd tells her he can enhance her mana, so she decides to give it a shot. As she channels her beast folk powers, someone suddenly blocks her spell from taking effect, much to their shock. Meanwhile, Alan gathers the remaining adventurers at the guild, but is disappointed because all of them are pathetic losers. When he declares that he will use them as meat shields, some of the adventurers become upset. Just before it turns into an argument, the guild master clears the air by reminding everyone that they're here to fight against monsters and not among themselves. With that, Alan reveals his master plan to have the mages unleash a powerful blast to take out a lot of the monsters, which will be followed by his party and the knights fighting to buy time. Once the mages have recovered, they will cast another wave of explosive spells, and they will repeat this process until all the monsters are defeated. Just then, the mages tell him that they are not strong enough to cast explosive magic, but Alan starts insulting them for being weaklings. However, his own party's mage admits that even she cannot cast explosive magic because her spells have gotten much weaker lately. She then reveals that all of them have gotten much weaker lately, and it all happened when Lloyd left their party. When Alan accuses them of deceiving him, Rena reminds him that it was his choice to kick out Lloyd and also that he has become complacent as a hero. She also declares that Alan is not worthy of the hero title, which makes him swing at her. However, she easily blocks his punch, and Alan finally realizes that he has lost all his aura. Embarrassed, he runs out of the guild, and Rena stays behind while his other pick-me thoughts follow him. When the others start feeling concerned, Rena tells them not to worry as she will fight alongside them. She then asks if anyone knows a man named Lloyd, because she believes he is the only one who can save their city now. Meanwhile, Claire and Lloyd locate another dark crystal inside the forest and realize this is what is blocking Claire's spell. Claire also notes that there must be multiple crystals here, so they must take out all of them for her spell to work. When Lloyd asks if she can sense all of them, she tells him she only knows their vague location. Thus, Lloyd uses enhancement magic on her, which will allow her to pinpoint their exact location. He also uses concealment magic, which will help them get closer to the crystal without being noticed. And Claire realizes at that moment that she's hanging out with the main character of the show. With that, they proceed to nullify the first magic crystal, and in the meantime, the city prepares for a battle. Before this, Rena told everyone that Lloyd was the backbone of the hero's party, but others find it difficult to believe because he is just a white mage. Rena told them they kicked Lloyd out because they were blinded by the hero, but ever since he left, their party has grown significantly weaker. She wanted people to find Lloyd, but the guild master revealed that he was not in the city. Rena believed that Lloyd would return soon because of his speed enhancement magic, and everyone agreed to bet on his return. As they gather at the border, the monsters finally reach the city, so Rena commands the archers to take their shots. As the shields push them back, the mages used fireballs and water jets to thin out the enemy numbers. The guild master then reveals that their plan is to hold off until Lloyd and his party return. Several hours later, Yui and the squad take another short break to replenish their stamina, and even though they are tired, they refuse to give up because Lloyd has entrusted this mission to them. In the meantime, Lloyd and Claire locate the final crystal controlling wolves and panthers, but as soon as Lloyd neutralizes it, the two monsters start fighting each other. Claire then reveals that these two species are natural enemies, and one of them crashes into her, thus undoing Lloyd's concealment magic. Before they can chew into her bones, Lloyd distracts them with fireworks. Meanwhile, Claire and the others are defending the city walls when a knight informs her that they are taking heavy fire on the right flank. Just when the line is about to be breached, a strong fire spell takes out several monsters, and the guild master realizes that the Rizzlers have arrived. Back in the forest, Lloyd is dodging all attacks, and Claire realizes he won't attack the beasts because she told him she doesn't want to harm them. When Lloyd finally gets caught, she starts singing in a soothing voice, and it makes all the beasts peacefully leave the area. As Lloyd joins her, she tells him she used her powers to send them back home and even thanks him for not hurting the beasts. With all the crystals taken care of, Lloyd and Claire decide to return to the city, where his party members are putting on a show. Even with their support, things seem dire for the adventurers, and even Rena gets severely injured in the process. Just when they are about to give up, they hear Claire's soothing voice coming from the outskirts, and she uses her beastfolk powers to make all the beasts go back to their homes. Lloyd is amazed that she managed to control hundreds of them, but she says it was all thanks to his support magic. In that moment, she tells Lloyd that her real name is Claire, and Lloyd says he will ask her about it later. Just then, the stone golems start approaching Ishtar, signaling that the war is not over yet. Meanwhile, Michel is sipping wine in his mansion, celebrating the fall of Ishtar, when a mage arrives and tells him that their first attack has failed, leaving him confused. Back in Ishtar, the golems keep advancing towards the city, but Lloyd uses speed enhancement on him and Claire, which allows them to reach the other side. Lloyd then carries Claire as he jumps over the huge moat, and the knights are shocked, thinking the man never skipped a leg day in his life. Once he reunites with his party, all the exhaustion finally sets in, and Lloyd collapses to his knees. Just then, the guild master arrives, and Lloyd asks him to take care of Claire as she is a beast folk. After she's taken away, the guild master tells him he's their only hope, which confuses him. Rena then reveals that Alan and his party are not joining this fight, so he is the only one who can save this city. Lloyd can't believe a hero would back down in such a critical fight, but Rena claims Alan is a disgrace to the title hero. Just then, Lloyd notices that she's been severely injured and immediately uses healing magic to make her wound disappear. Lloyd collapses again from exhaustion. But as he regains his balance, Rena apologizes to him because she never paid attention to how much he helped them when he was in their party. Lloyd still believes he was kicked because he was useless, but the conversation is interrupted when the golems drop into the moat. Lloyd immediately warns the knights not to engage them, but they attack anyway and get clapped. Rena then asks the archers and the mages to attack the golems, but none of their attacks do any damage. As Yui wonders about their next move, Lloyd gets a crazy idea to cast an enhancement spell on every single person on their side. But since he is super exhausted, he can only enhance one group at a time. He casts physical enhance on all the troops at the front, but immediately collapses again because it's taking a huge toll on his body. He warns them that it won't last very long, so Rui immediately goes to a higher ground and yells at everyone that Lloyd has made them stronger. She demonstrates it by cracking a golem in half, and this helps everyone gain confidence. Cross then teaches the archers to time their arrows with the mage's fireballs, and Silica works alongside Dagus to take down several golems. With the tide turning in their favor, Lloyd is taken into the tower where he can rest for a while. However, his enhancement magic soon runs out, and this allows the final boss of golems to make it to the front door. Yui decides to stop it on her own, but Rena pulls her aside at the last second just as Dagus blocks the hit with his shield. In that dire moment, Lloyd uses the last of his magic to enhance Yui's sword, and with Rena and Cross's help, she manages to take down the last golem. With that, the war is finally over, and Lloyd finally takes a sigh of relief. Unbeknownst to him, Will is watching him from a distance and takes note of Lloyd's progress in the city. Meanwhile, Grist barges into Michelle's office, angry that they lost Claire in the war, but he finds the place empty. After taking his anger out on the furniture, he vows to find the person responsible for their failure and send them back to the plot gods. Soon after, Lloyd wakes up at the inn after a long day of rest, and Yui tells him he's been out for 24 hours. Lloyd believes he is still weak, so she takes him downstairs, where dozens of citizens have gathered to personally thank him. However, Lloyd shuts the door in their face and tells Yui he is scared to face so many people. Yui urges him to face them, but Lloyd sneaks out of the window and runs to the other street to avoid them all. Meanwhile, Will pays another visit to Merlin, and she greets him by blowing the door in his face. He then takes her to a meeting with their old teammates, Thor and Lily, where he tells everyone that Lloyd was kicked out of the heroes' party. Merlin is shocked to hear this, but Will tells her not to worry because he's with an S-rank party now. Will also adds that Lloyd is still a moron who doesn't realize how good he is, and Merlin says she raised him this way so he wouldn't repeat the mistake she made. Back in Ishtar, Lloyd is hiding in a random house overlooking dozens of citizens who are searching for him. His teammates find him and inform him that these people only want to thank him, but he believes he didn't do anything to deserve all this recognition. However, they all urge him to have some confidence in himself, and when Rena tells him he's really that good, he finally agrees to face the people. When people start cheering for him, he claims the knights and the mages did most of the work, but he's reminded that it was impossible to win until he joined the battlefield. The public then declares him the hero of Ishtar, and his teammates ask him to enjoy the day. When the news reaches Alan, the guy starts throwing fits and tells his shawties to pack their bags because he doesn't want to live in this city anymore. Meanwhile, Merlin and his friends cheer to the memory of Cybele, their friend who lost his life when he used ancient magic to revive people. Afterward, Will tells them that the demons tried to take over Ishtar by manipulating hordes of monsters, and this makes him believe the demon lord might try to rise again. Merlin starts to panic because this would mean Cybele died for no reason, but Thor asks her to calm down and focus on what they can do to ensure Cybele's death isn't a waste. On the other hand, Lloyd and his party are summoned by the Lord, which makes them wonder if they did something wrong. Just then, the young man invites them inside the mansion, and they find Claire waiting there. They wonder why she is here, and the young man reveals she is his guest, as he is Abel, the lord of this land. The girls are in shock because they expected the lord to be an elderly Fasto, but Abel looks like he recently got his first pimple. Lloyd recalls that Merlin also looked young despite being an old hag, which makes Yui wonder if they are using a secret beauty magic. Elsewhere, Theorian, a member of the Beast Folk, is anxious about Claire's whereabouts when he learns that she's a guest in Ishtar. Meanwhile, Lloyd is shocked to learn that Claire is a princess of the Forest Empire, which is a land of beast folk. While they are in shock, Abel asks them what they think about Claire's power to control beasts. Lloyd claims it's incredible and also very dangerous, which is why Abel can't let Claire fall into enemy hands. The Empire has been desperately trying to rescue her, and since Lloyd and his party succeeded in that job, she is truly grateful to them. Abel then hands them an envelope, telling them that they need to escort Claire to the capital, where she will be reunited with her people who have come to take her. They all set out on this journey with excitement, but after 10 days of walking, the squad realizes the capital is farther than they thought. They decide to stop by an upcoming town, and Yui tells Claire it's famous for its hot springs. Claire says she's never been to one, so Yui starts urging her to try it out. While Lloyd is unsure if that's a good idea, the others convince him that letting their guard down once in a while is good for them. Soon after, they reach the town, and Yui immediately takes the girls to the hot spring. She then notices that Claire is shyly sitting outside because she has never bathed with anyone before, and she's insecure about showing her plots. Eventually, she steps into the water and admits that it is quite nice. Yui then tells her she's really pretty, but Claire believes she's skinny compared to them because they're both packing mega milk factories. Silica then notices that Yui's melons have grown even bigger and claims it's because she's been eating like a caveman ever since they left Ishtar. She also notes that Yui has gained some extra pounds all around her body, which annoys Yui because she thinks Silica is calling her fat. In the meantime, the boys are on the other side washing each other's backs, and Lloyd starts going a little hard because his mind is preoccupied with how to save his friends in case of a demon attack. Later, he tells everyone that they should stay in this town for a couple of days so he can prepare a few things. When Yui asks the others, Dagus says he would also like to get new gear, and Silica adds that she wanted to buy some spells as well. Cross agrees to the idea as well, so Yui permits them to stay. The following day, Dagus is looking for a new shield when he runs into Yui and Claire, who are just chilling. He tells them he's having no luck finding a good one and has explored almost all the shops, only for Claire to reveal she saw a good shop in an alley earlier. Dagus immediately heads there to check it out and starts looking at the fine quality items hung from the wall. Just then, an old man barges in and asks him if he's another one of those thugs who came earlier. Dagus tells him he's just here to look for a weapon, so the old man leaves without saying anything further. Dagus wonders why the store isn't booming despite such high-quality items, but he is interrupted when a bunch of gooners enter the shop. They ask him what he's doing here, and when he says he came here to buy weapons, they begin laughing, claiming every item here is of poor quality. Just then, the old man reappears and accuses them of ruining their business, but they blame him instead for being a poor manager. Dagus asks them if they are loan sharks, and the gooners explain that their leader, Galland, is an A-rank adventurer. Dagus wonders why an A-rank is wasting his time here, and Galland says it's because this old man won't sell him Leonis's legacy. The man still refuses to give it to him, claiming it only belongs to someone who can wield it properly. When Galland threatens to beat him up, Dagus calls them out for being shameless, which prompts their steroid junkie to swing at him. Dagus easily blocks his attack and uses his storage spell to summon his shield, allowing him to beat the whole party on his own. Afterward, he shows his S-ranked badge to Galland, leaving everyone shocked, including the old man. After Galland and his gooners run away, the old man decides to entrust Dagus with Leonis's legacy. Meanwhile, Lloyd is improving his support magic when Yui and Claire return home, and they suggest he try learning offensive magic. Lloyd claims his spells will be useless in comparison with Silica's offense because he's just that good, and Yui agrees with that. Speaking of Silica, she is relaxing her mind near a pond and reminisces about how Lloyd saved the entire city with his support magic. She wants to become strong like him, so she tries practicing a new spell, only for her magic circles to break. Despite the setback, she refuses to give up and continues practicing. On the other hand, Yui tells Lloyd that Silica has been a prodigy ever since she was young, but skills aren't the only reason she's so amazing. She recalls how many years ago she was passing by fields when she saw Silica practicing her fire magic, but she kept missing the target. She kept trying this until she got it right, and it's her determination to never give up that makes her so incredible. Just like back then, Silica continues to practice her new fire spell, and after many failures she finally gets it right. She is so excited that she slips into the water and causes a huge explosion. After she soaks herself, Silica decides to head home, but she hears some rustling in the bushes. She prepares herself to face a monster. However, it turns out to be Dagus, who explains that the old man showed him Aegis, a great shield forged by a famous blacksmith, Leonis. One look at it told Dagus that this was no ordinary shield, and the old man added that most people can't even bear its weight. He even agreed to let Dagus have it, but before that, he wanted him to complete a mission. He told Dagus that people had been hearing explosions in the forest all day, and he believed it was some demon's shady work. He promised to give him this shield if Dagus took care of this problem, and now Dagus has learned it was Silica all along. Silica is upset that people mistook her for a demon, but Dagus says she can't blame them and points to the damage she's caused. Silica then looks back at a giant crater left by the spell she fired earlier, and she herself is terrified because the whole spring has disappeared from that explosion. Dagus then takes Silica back to the old man's shop, and he begins laughing. Silica apologizes for blowing up the spring and reveals she used her magic to repair it. The man tells them it's fine and allows Dagus to have the shield, and Dagus gratefully accepts it. That night, he shows his new shield to everyone, and everyone is surprised to see it. Yui then asks Silica about her new spell, and she promises to show her when the time is right. When Dagus accidentally slips up that Silica blew up an entire spring, Lloyd claims he needs to get stronger so he doesn't hold them back, but Yui claims the food is far more important than training and drags them to a restaurant. The following day, Cross feels left out because his growth is slower compared to the rest, so he decides to look for a way to get stronger. Just then, a young archer named Lin bumps into him and falls down. As Cross helps him up, he sees an adventurer's badge on Lin and tells him he is an adventurer too. Lin hesitantly asks him if he would form a party with him, and Cross agrees to help. Lin then takes him to the guild, where Cross asks him why he's solo. Lin says he's stuck in E rank, and no one wants to team up with him, so Cross tells him he is also stuck in his rank to cheer him up. The boy assumes he's also in E rank and gets motivated to go on a mission with him. Soon after, Cross and Lin find themselves on a quest to hunt slimes and reach their nest to complete it. Before they start, Cross summons his bow from the storage spell, and that alone is enough to shock Lin. Afterward, Cross demonstrates how to yeet a slime and asks Lin to try it as well, but Lin's aim is worse than a Valorant Iron rank. Cross then teaches Lin how to handle a bow, and he manages to take down his first slime and impresses Cross with his quick learning. Meanwhile, Yui is going through town when she notices a crowd gathered up ahead, and a noble lady is bullying a broke boy for getting mud on her expensive clothes. The boy is terrified for his life and begs the lady for forgiveness, but she still orders her guard to end him. Yui steps up to stop them, only for the lady to arrogantly boast about her noble status. However, Yui doesn't give two forks about her status and tells the boy to run away, which prompts the guards to attack her. She then summons her sword to block all three of them at once, causing them to back off. Just then, the noble lady signals to her mage in the crowd, prompting her to cast a spell that restrains Yui in chains. The chains slowly drain Yui's stamina and leave her open, so the guards rush to finish her off. However, another hooded mage suddenly appears in front of her and claims that a 4-on-1 fight is very unfair. The noble lady asks the mage not to interfere in her matters, but she quickly takes down all of her guards, leaving the ugly hag in shock. She then proceeds to free Yui from her chains and defeat the noble's mage without apparently moving a muscle. But Yui is shocked because her trained eyes can see she is faster than Flash. After that, the mage threatens to knock the noble lady out as well, causing her to wet herself in front of everyone. When the dust settles, Yui thanks the mage for the rescue and asks her what she can do to become strong like her. When the mage tells her she is already very strong, Yui tells her that there's a guy named Lloyd who is so strong that she has been relying on him a lot ever since he joined. Hearing of Lloyd, she agrees to train Yui and takes off her hood to reveal that she's Lily, one of Merlin's old mates. Meanwhile, Lloyd is scratching his head because he cannot figure out how to improve his spell. Just then, his squad mates show up to make sure he's not losing his mind, and Dagus advises him to touch grass because he's been holed up for days. He says he doesn't know his way around town, so Claire volunteers to give him a good time. On the other hand, Lily takes Yui to the forest, and even though she is hiding her true identity, Yui has a gut feeling that she can trust her. When Lily produces her weapon using the storage spell, Yui realizes she is the real deal and would definitely help her get stronger. Lilith then asks her to cut down a tree with her sword without moving a foot from her current location. When Yui says it's too far, she demonstrates that the sword doesn't even have to touch the tree to chop it down. Lilith explains that she poured mana into her sword and sent it flying with the swing, making Yui realize her sword can also be a ranged weapon. Meanwhile, Claire treats Lloyd to Dango sweets and formally thanks him for everything he's done for her. She also wants to help him with his magic, so he asks her if the song he uses to control beasts is ancient magic. Claire admits that she indeed uses ancient magic, so Lloyd asks her if she can teach him some of her spells. Claire believes it is impossible because only those born with such magic can use ancient spells, and if anyone else tries to use them, they will surely die. She tells him the story of Cybele, a legendary mage who used ancient magic to revive people but lost his life in the process. She asks Leon to stay away from this cursed magic, and Leon decides not to dig further because Merlin warned him about it too. Meanwhile, Cross and Lynn finally take out all of the slimes, but before they can collect their magic stones, a giant spider appears on the scene. Cross's regular arrows don't work against it, making him realize he will need to strike the same place rapidly. He believes he can't do it fast enough, but Lynn advises him to use his storage spell to summon arrows instead of drawing them. This helps Cross achieve rapid fire, and he defeats the spider. After they collect all the magic stones and the spider head and take them back to the guild, which makes everyone cheer for Lynn. Lynn asks Cross why he gave him all the credit, and he says he wanted people to respect Lynn. Lynn figures Cross is not an E rank, so Cross finally shows him his S-ranked badge, which shocks Lynn. He begins apologizing for wasting Cross's time, but Cross politely tells him it's fine. Meanwhile, Yui is struggling to master the new technique but loudly claims that she won't stop until she masters it, prompting Lily to ask why she wants to become stronger. Yui admits she's got a big head and a loud mouth, and she thought she was the main character once she became an S rank. Then she met the real main character, and now she wants to become stronger so she can stand beside Lloyd with her head held high. Just then, a panther jumps on Lily out of nowhere, and Yui manages to pull off a ranged attack in urgency to save her. She suddenly goes excited because she finally cast it, only to feel dizzy due to exhaustion and collapse in Lily's arms. As night falls, Lily drops her off at the front door and slips away without being seen. The following day, everyone is ready to leave the city, but Lloyd feels down because he failed to achieve what he wanted. At this point, all of them are used to this and don't even bother correcting him. Meanwhile, Lily reports back to Merlin, who had sent her to make sure Lloyd was okay because she was worried about him. However, now she's jealous of Lily, who got to see Lloyd. Since she hasn't seen Lloyd in a long time, she decides to visit the capital too. Meanwhile, General Grest reports to the Demon Lord that their assault on Ishtar failed, and they still haven't located Claire. The Demon Lord is disappointed because Grist promised him an army that would bend to his will, but he gives him one more chance to redeem himself. Grist shamefully leaves the throne room and starts throwing fits because he has no lead on Claire, only for Michelle to show up and remind him that he still hasn't been paid for his services. Grist gets angry upon hearing this, so Michelle tells him that Claire is en route to the capital as they speak. Grist asks him why he's sharing this for free, and Michelle responds that it's to make up for his previous blunder. He even offers to help Grist recapture Claire, and the man accepts his help because he has no other choice. Meanwhile, Lloyd's squad is escorting Claire, and Yui continues her yapping as usual. Just then, they hear some rustling in the bushes and get on guard, only for a rabbit to step out of there. Lloyd immediately casts his search spell to check the area and assures them that there are no demons nearby. The squad then decides to take a short break to replenish its stamina, and Lloyd notices that everyone has learned something new because they all reacted quickly when the rabbit showed up. He also adds that he doesn't want to bring them all down, but Yui once again asks him to have some confidence in himself. Claire also tells him that his powers are far more incredible than theirs, but he says he's nothing compared to her master. Silica then tells him how hard she trained to keep up with him, and even Cross confirms that he's been hustling all because of Lloyd. Daggaz adds that everyone here believes they are a burden on Lloyd, so they are working super hard to make sure they don't drag him down. Yui advises him to admire his true strength, or else he will never get any better, and Lloyd promises to be more confident from now on. Meanwhile, Merlin reaches the royal palace and tries to enter, but the guards tell him to skedaddle. However, she uses a hypnosis spell to get past them and wanders into the library, where she locates an illusory wall. Upon breaking the spell, she is welcomed by a beast girl named Lowen, who says they haven't met since they fought the Demon Lord, and drags Merlin in. Inside, Lowen tells her she was able to sense Merlin from afar because her mana is potent and has a strong smell. She then reveals that the Demon Lord's son has inherited the throne in the Magocracy, and they have been lying low ever since Merlin and her squad put an end to their previous lord. After discussing all the amazing spells Merlin has created, their conversation shifts to the grimoire that she had used to seal the Demon Lord all those years ago. Merlin only has one half of it, and she wants Lowen to see if it has the power to seal the Demon Lord again if need arises. Lowen anxiously asks him if the Demon Lord is returning, and Merlin tells her there might be a possibility that he is. Meanwhile, Yui tells the group that they are close to a town called Schwers, which is just a day's walk from the capital. Since the sun is setting, Claire asks if the mobs will start spawning, and Cross tells her not to worry because she can use her power to control them. Lloyd then decides to expand his search magic to clear the area, but his spell is interrupted, and a strange mist starts forming at their feet. Silica tries to summon her staff to blow it away, but her storage spell fails, which makes them realize the mist is blocking their mana. suspecting it to be the work of demons. The squad starts running to the nearby town before they are attacked. Meanwhile, Lowen runs her tests on the grimoire and reveals that it still has mana left, but that mana is only a residue of Sybil's powers. Merlin then tells Lowen about the time when Lloyd touched the book and started glowing, which made her realize he was the chosen one. She wanted him to grow stronger than Sybil, so she gave him very tough training, but she never understood how the boy felt. Lloyd then left her and is currently escorting Claire to the capital, and she longs to hear his voice again. In the meantime, Lloyd's squad reaches the town, but since it's covered in mist, Lloyd directly enhances Silica's mana, which allows her to clear the mist. Immediately, they see Grist and his demons waiting to ambush them, and Claire tells her friends this is the man who kidnapped her. The squad immediately pulls out their weapons and cross-rushes to a nearby tower to provide support. As the battle begins, all the mages are quickly defeated except Grist, who has mastered Gojo's infinity and can't be touched by ordinary means. As Grist starts aura farming, all his mages are revived, and Lloyd's squad finds themselves in a pickle. Just then, a wall of ice takes out the mages again and surrounds them from all four sides. Lloyd looks up to see Theorian, who refuses to let Claire fall into enemy hands again. Michelle watches them from a distance when Will shows up, and after some nonsense talk, they begin their battle. Will suddenly teleport behind him to give him a scare before showing him that he eliminated the mist with his potions. Michelle then realizes that he is dealing with a legendary alchemist who was among the people who sealed their previous demon lord. Down in the town, Claire introduces Theorian as her old friend and one of the four heroes. However, he is not very thrilled to meet them because people don't give him the respect he deserves due to his beast folk origin. While he's acting all tough, Claire notes that Theorian is a softie because he still carries the bag she made him many years ago. Just then, Grist breaks free of the ice, so Theorian throws everything he has at him. When others offer to help, Theorian tells them to stay out of it because he will handle this alone. He starts hurling ice shards towards Grist while also saying slurs like an angry American, which makes Yui realize this is why he is not respected as a hero. Just then, Lloyd notices that Grist is not fighting back because he is compressing mana for one big attack. He warns Theorian about it and asks everyone to take cover, but Theorian refuses to listen and faces it head-on, which causes a big explosion. This distracts Will long enough for Michelle to get away, and after the dust settles, Lloyd sees Grist holding an unconscious Claire. Before anyone can react, an airship arrives, and Grist carries Claire inside, successfully completing his heist. Theorian refuses to give up just yet, despite being injured, and uses his ice magic to try and reach the airship. However, the ice breaks at the last second and makes him fall, but Silica quickly uses an air spell to soften his landing. Afterward, Lloyd quickly heals his injury and says he has a plan, but Theorian once again refuses to work with them. The whole squad then reminds him that he lost all his aura points moments ago, and he is in no position to act so high and mighty. Meanwhile, Claire is once again restrained in a cocoon, while Michelle tells Grist that he has used a fragment of the Demon Lord as this airship's power source. He recalls that the Demon Lord went kaboom in his final battle and left this fragment behind, and it still retains mana after all these years. His ultimate goal is to control the most viscous beats in the world and also make some money on the side, making Grist realize he's a freak. Just then, the emergency alarm sounds, and Michelle observes Theorian using his ice magic to conjure platforms in mid-air, allowing the entire team to reach his vessel. This is made possible thanks to Lloyd's ability to reverse gravity, and after carefully parkouring around, they manage to land on the ship. Grist immediately heads to the deck to face them, and Lloyd quickly enhances his entire team with power-ups. In addition, he secretly places a magic circle on Grist's back and then signals his teammates to keep attacking him. Grist is still protecting himself with Gojo's infinity and gets an upper hand on all of them, especially Theorian. Just as he prepares to send Theorian to the plot gods, Daggis protects him with his shield. Grist's hand then turns to ice and shatters, but he cannot understand what happened. Theorian explains that they cut off the blood flow in his arm via frostbite, and Lloyd made sure he wouldn't feel any pain with his own spell, which is why Grist never noticed. Lloyd admits there is no way they can break his armor from the outside, so he thought of a way to hurt him from the inside. When they fought in the town, Grist's hair froze despite him dodging all of Theorian's attacks, which made them realize he can only reflect attacks he sees. Lloyd then demands that he give Claire back, but Grist suddenly runs to the cabin below and asks Michelle to release the monsters. Michelle advises against it because his research on ancient magic is incomplete, but he refuses to listen. Theorian and the others join them in the room, so Grist breaks all the locks and releases the monsters. when a snack monster starts attacking Grist. Michelle brings out the Demon Lord's fragment to control the beast. Theorain uses this opportunity to break Claire out of her cocoon and unite her with their party, but they still have a monster problem on their hands. In that moment, Claire uses ancient magic to override Michelle's command, and her soothing voice makes the monsters calm down. Just then, the ship starts to lose balance, and Michelle notes that Claire's magic is trying to melt down the Demon Lord fragment powering the vessel. He quickly removes it from the plug to ensure it doesn't explode, but the ship no longer has a power source and begins free-falling. Amid all of this, Grist gets possessed by the Demon Lord's mana and demands the fragment, making Michelle realize that their Demon Lord is seeking a vessel for his return. He quickly tosses the crystal towards Grist, and it creates a black hole that absorbs all the monsters in the ship. Soon after, all the monsters merge into a giant chimera, and Claire senses their pain because she is one of them. Michelle starts laughing hysterically because he believes he's created a god, but that same god slices him in half without thinking twice. Afterward, the chimera turns its attention towards Lloyd's party, and they all prepare for a fight. Meanwhile, Merlin and Lowen are strolling in the palace when Will shows up, revealing that he used potions to subdue the guards. Merlin realizes he must have something important to discuss, so she asks Lowen to arrange a room for them. Back on the ship, the heroes are facing an urgent situation, and even though Claire doesn't want to hurt the chimera, they have no other choice. On top of that, the vessel is on a crash course with the ground, and it is all up to Lloyd to come up with a plan to save his friends. Just then, Will and Merlin teleport in the vicinity of the ship, and after Merlin uses her search spell to locate it, they both go invisible with the potion. Back on board the vessel, Silica tries her luck with magic, but the chimera easily deflects her attack. Lloyd suddenly asks everyone to stand against the wall, and once they are there, he reverses gravity to make the chimera fall to the other side. The squad uses this chance to run up, but the chimera causes a huge explosion to make a way to the top. Lloyd then asks everyone to jump, and they follow his lead. He then asks Theorain to create an ice platform, and this allows them to have a place to stand. However, they are still falling at a rapid speed, so Silica asks Lloyd to enhance her magic. Once he does, she prepares to cast her air spell at the perfect timing. With Lloyd's signal, she stops the ice platform just long enough for everyone to get off safely. As everyone thanks Lloyd for his help, he once again is clueless about his powers and says he merely enhanced Silica. However, even Theorain, who has fought all his life, says that there is something about Lloyd that makes him think having teammates every now and then isn't a bad thing. Just then, the ship crash lands and explodes near them, and Claire starts crying because she believes all the beasts inside are dead. However, the chimera rises from the flames and undergoes a transformation that makes the heroes wet themselves. Merlin and Will notice the explosion and keep a watch on them from a distance. As they wonder how to defeat this thing, Lloyd recalls how Claire's voice resonated with the Demon Lord's fragment. This awakened a special power within the fragment, and it is now looking for a vessel to revive the Demon Lord. However, a part of Grist is still inside that thing, which is why it's chasing Claire subconsciously. Theorain suggests they yeet the monster, but Claire gets sad because she doesn't want all the beasts in it to die. Silica asks if there is a way to save the monsters, and Lloyd comes up with a plan. He wants to use Claire's voice to make the Demon Lord's fragment release the monsters, and he will enhance her ancient magic using his powers. Theorain believes such a thing is impossible, but Lloyd begs them to try it because they have no other option. They all agree to do it, but Merlin suddenly appears and tells Lloyd not to do something so stupid. She tells him that ancient magic is taboo, and who knows what might happen if he tries to enhance it. Despite her warning, Lloyd stands her ground and says he was ignorant of her powers before he met his friends, so he will use them for good. Merlin reminds him that she taught him to never grow overconfident, and Lloyd argues this is not overconfidence, but rather a solid belief in his powers. Just then, the monster appears and the whole squad runs past her, leaving her to pray that Lloyd doesn't end up like Cybele. The squad then combines its powers to get closer to the beast, and Lloyd mounts its neck, signaling Claire to cast her spell. Soon enough, a giant black hole appears in the sky, and all the beasts are untangled from the chimera. Claire is happy to see the beasts alive, but then she looks up to see Lloyd and Grist getting sucked into the black hole. As the hole closes, Lloyd finds himself in a white plane, and after Grist's body disappears, he finds his own body floating in space. Just then, he hears a voice telling him that his mind and body are apart right now, and it's because of the ancient magic. As the voice explains the backstory of ancient magic, everyone outside is able to hear it as well. Merlin reveals that this is Cybele's voice as he explains that ancient magic can bend the very laws of time and reality. However, this power threw the world into chaos and disorder, so the wielders of this magic banned its use to ensure the world's safety. However, the wielders also knew there would come a time when it would be necessary to use ancient magic, so they scattered some people in the world who could use said magic without any restraint. As for the rest, anyone who used ancient magic would be destroyed. And this is what happened to Cybele, who used the ancient magic against the demon lord. He explains how they were a moment away from winning their fight, but they got overconfident and allowed the demon lord to have the last laugh. The demon lord then blew itself up in that moment, and it wiped out the whole city and everyone within it. The only person left alive was Cybele, so he used ancient magic to revive everyone at the cost of his life. Just then, he points to Lloyd that the black hole is closing and he should escape before it's too late. Lloyd admits he doesn't know how to return, but then he sees his friends calling to him, and all the good times he spent with them start flashing before his eyes. This helps him escape the black hole, and Merlin sheds a tear, thanking Cybele for helping Lloyd escape. The next day, the whole squad is gathered at the palace, where Claire thanks them for helping her to safety. Just then, Theorine arrives and hesitantly tells Claire that he lost the bag she had made for him. However, Claire takes his hand with a smile and tells him she'll make another one for him. After they meet with the king and get their reward, Lloyd and the others run into Lowen, who starts smelling Lloyd because he has the same mana as Merlin. Merlin herself appears and introduces Lowen as her friend who can distinguish people by their mana. Lloyd then notices his teammates acting weird, and when he asks why, they tell him Marin is a legendary sage recognized by the whole kingdom. She then asks Lloyd if he will come home, but Lloyd looks at the sorry faces of his friends and declares he will continue to adventure. When he says he wants to learn all kinds of magic, Lowen says he is just like Merlin. Lloyd remembers she was a menace to him and says he's nothing like her, and this makes her explode in rage. Later, she meets up with Will and tells him that since the demon lord isn't completely gone, they might need Lloyd's powers in the future. Meanwhile, Lloyd and his teammates are rewarded with a giant mansion in the capital, but Lloyd still claims he is not strong enough to deserve this. However, his friends are used to the fact that he's a moron, so they just laugh about it and look forward to all the adventures they will have. Will Lloyd ever be able to use ancient magic? Let us know in the comments below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing recap.